Hi, Jesenia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing so good. Thanks for being with me today. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just back-to-back meetings as usual.
Yes, no rest. Okay, so everyone, I would like to introduce you to Jesenia. She is the founder of a neurodivergent networking organization group called Neurospicy. And she can also be found her personal art page at Desert Flower Arts, particularly on TikTok too.
Mhm. So yeah, that's so I started a TikTok account because I was having a really hard time once I found out that I was autistic, that I couldn't find other autistic people of color anywhere, online spaces, in community, in Facebook groups. Like, it was just a lot of autistic parents, which, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just couldn't find any adult autistic people who are talking about their experiences being late diagnosed and finding resources. The very first question I had was, what do I do now, knowing that I'm autistic, and like reevaluating my whole life, understanding my sensory needs and my the way that I think, and why that's made my life so difficult, especially with relationships. And I could not find other people and other people's voices talking about this. And I was like, if I'm here, I know I'm not the only one. So I got on TikTok and started posting about my experiences. And my TikTok account, Desert Flower Arts, was originally meant to be my art page where I was going to promote my art, but quickly turned into my entire life and all of my experiences. And I was finding that the biggest thing with autistic people in our community is that we have no way to connect to each other. We're very much isolated from each other. And I felt that, just like my experience, so many other people had the same experience. So I created the Neurospicy network on LinkedIn to help neurodivergent professionals in a professional capacity communicate and network. And since relationships and understanding social cues is something that we really struggle with, having a safe space of other neurodivergent professionals to be able to learn how to network and how to use LinkedIn in a professional capacity was something that was really needed. And I created that space. And within within 1 month of creating it, we're now up to 450 members, and it's still growing. So I'm really excited about that. And I want to expand that off of LinkedIn because there are a lot of people who have trauma with LinkedIn and just working in general as an autistic adult because of the culture of our corporate society. So we are just trying to, I'm creating a way to do that offline, which I then met 2 other autistic women, and we started the One Free App project. And that project is intended to be a social media app, but with the intention of helping people connect to each other, people to people, network to network, mutual aid to mutual aid, and more, right? And what we're trying to do is you have a profile where you talk about what your support needs are, and then you can talk about the things that are low spoons or easy for you to accomplish or give to the community, and connecting those people for need purposes, but also to create a community of friendship and socialization. So that is part of that. And then, of course, that is basically what my TikTok account is. I'm trying to find people who want to connect and connect them all to each other. So, I have all of these different social medias, and I have all of these different social practices. I've joined a couple of social justice collaboratives, Calling Up Justice and Disability Paradox, and a few others to help educate myself in these spaces that I'm new to, but also to help create the spaces where people of minorities, people like myself, have a voice. Because even though I'm delving into more autistic communities and spaces, they're all very predominantly white, which is not new for me. I've grown up most of my life in predominantly white spaces, and I want to be the voice for the people who aren't there, even if that voice isn't necessarily my voice, because there are so many people who don't get a seat at the table. They don't even get to walk in the room. So that is all of my social platforms and what I'm doing with them.
Representation is so important. What you're doing is so important, and I hope that in talking about them, more people will see that this is an accessible resource for them, And I'll tag in the bottom the one free app and the Neurospicy so people can access it easily. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so I have some questions for you. Okay, so when you think, like in your head, is it a continuous stream of thoughts or does it ever pause?
That's a good question. And it depends on my sensory overload level, right? When I'm very well managed, I can manage the stream of thoughts, but the more anxious I get, the more dysregulated I get, the more quickly the thoughts go through my head to the point where I can't control the speed of the thoughts. So I also have an inner monologue, and I have my own thoughts, and then I have an inner voice as if I'm speaking to you out loud, but in my head. And I also have aphantasia. So my thoughts they're not pictures, they're not words, they're just my thoughts. I have no other way to explain it, but I have no internal pictures to give.
Okay, so with aphantasia is the absence of mental imagery, like you said, no pictures. So when you think, do you ever hear your internal monologue and your voice at the same time? Or do they speak at the same time?
My internal monologue can speak over my thoughts. Sometimes they could be louder, and then my thoughts, and then vice versa. So there's always a competition of who's speaking, and even though both of them are me, they can confuse me, especially if I'm emotionally dysregulated. So I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody about something, I'm upset about it, and then I'm trying to get the words out, and that struggle with words, which I forget what it's called, apraxia, I think, or I forget. No,
alexithymia.
That's not knowing which feelings are, which I also struggled with until recently. I mean, I still do, but like not knowing your body's, how you're feeling in your body. Anyway, I'll remember what it's called later. The fact is that when I'm emotional, those thoughts get so loud that I can't get my words out, because I'm trying to think about the right words to speak them. But it's like I have three people talking to me at once. I can't get myself straightened out.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so do you feel like all three of the internal voices have the same tone, same voices? Do they sound the same?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever thought of that. I don't think that they all sound like me. So like if I think about music or sounds, or like I don't hear music in my head, I hear myself singing whatever song I'm thinking about. I don't hear the actual tones of the music. I hear myself going da 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 da, like whatever that song is. Like I don't hear music. So it's always my voice. They don't have different tones or sounds to them. They're just all me.
Cool. Okay. And then so with aphantasia, you're hearing your voices. Do you hear them like with your ears? Do you hear them in your head? Do you hear each voice in a different location?
No, they are not. I don't hear them with my ears. I hear them in my head, almost like I have headphones inside my head, and that's what's talking. They're not in different locations. They're all inside of my physical brain space. I have heard of other people who can project those things and they hear them outside of themselves, or they have a space, but I don't have that.
Interesting. Okay. So you were saying earlier about an internal monologue. So when you read silently, do you hear the words that you're reading?
No. So it depends too on reading's interesting. This is the only part where I don't have aphantasia. If I'm reading a fiction book, I can see a movie playing on in my head. Every character has its own voice that is not my voice, but only works with fiction. If I'm reading nonfiction, it's my voice speaking anything that's in quotes. And then when I'm reading, I'm just absorbing the information. Because I'm a speed reader and I learned how to read before anybody taught me how to read. I just read in chunks. I don't read actual individual words. I noticed that when I actually start to read individual words, I'm not comprehending anything.
That is such an interesting, and that's so introspective. Okay, so when you read, if it's fiction, you see it like a movie. Is it in color?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's in color. Awesome. And it's in 3D. It's a literal movie. I no longer exist. I'm not even a third person, or I'm not even third person in the movie. It is like I'm dreaming. It's like I'm dreaming.
That's amazing. That is so well explained. That's really interesting to think about. Okay, so while we've been sitting here, I've been processing what you said at the beginning. And, I think it's so important to increase representation in spaces. And I think so often autistic representations are sort of confined to, a singular representation, a nerdy white guy who's good at math. And, I think a lot of times that is a kind of a closed representation of autism, and I think that the spaces that you're creating are challenging perceptions and increasing representations and leveraging platforms so more people have more space to share their experiences. And, I'm so excited to learn more from you, and I'm really, really excited to just hear more and to learn more. And I thank you for sharing with me today.
Absolutely.
I will post this video in the next few days. Would you like me to send it to you first for approval?
No, you could post whatever you feel like. It's fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, thank you so much, Jesenia. I so enjoyed today, and I so enjoyed connecting with you over, on TikTok, and I would like to come to your Neurospicy on Tuesdays, and I'm excited to see where autistic representation is in a year and in 5 years, and to see how, your work has helped shape that.
Thank you. I'm excited to, I'm glad that we found each other, and I'm really excited to be part of these conversations, because this world did not exist to me a year ago. I didn't even know what autism was. I was raised my whole life surrounded by therapists and people who were supposed to be able to tell these things. Like, I've been in therapy since kindergarten. I've been in the social work system. I have been homeless. I have had a lot of chances for people to catch that I was autistic, but because I was so high masking to keep myself safe, that nobody could tell the difference. So even when I was nonverbal, that wasn't a big enough clue for people to do something about it or ask me about it. So interesting. But yes, I'm really glad that we met, and I'm excited to have more of these conversations.
Me too. Thank you again. And if you don't mind me asking really quick, you said in the last year you didn't really know much about autism. So did you get diagnosed then? When did you get diagnosed?
I got diagnosed last year. I finally got therapy for the first time after leaving the school system. Was the last time I had therapy. So it's been 15 years. The pandemic was making me really anxious, like to the point of losing everything I had built for my life. And the company I was working for finally offered free therapy. And so when I went to see my therapist, I didn't know at the time, but she was also neurodivergent, immediately clocked me and said, you need to go get an assessment. And when she said it, that she thought I was autistic, I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I really didn't. I don't have any preconceived notions of the stigma. I had to learn that because nobody around me knew what autism was to build a stigma around it. So in that way, I've been very privileged and lucky, but I still had to struggle with all of the existing as an autistic person in an holistic world without any support or any knowledge of what I needed to advocate for myself.
Yes. Yeah, I think that so often autistics are not asked, like, hey, what supports might you need? What, you had said that in the profile for the One Free app, you can put your support needs. And I think that that's something that is just simply communicated, and that you're creating a space where that is accessible and easy, efficient. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for more conversations.
Okay. Me too. I would love to do this again.
For sure. Anytime. Let me know.
I will, of course. Okay. Bye, Jesenia. Have a great week.
Bye. Thanks. You too.
Thanks.